Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. There is another transformation of the sun god. Something many believe to be impossible has been officially revealed. So, leave a like, subscribe, and comment which devil fruit you would like to win, because now we're going straight into the video. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Chapter 1140 brought many new pieces of information that could indicate an even greater development for Luffy and his transformations. I think the most interesting part of all this was Gaban's direct mention of the white form, which may suggest that Luffy has more than one transformation derived from his Gear 5. Perhaps, who knows, this is the first time we are actually seeing a glimpse of the full potential of his awakening. Ever since Luffy activated Gear 5, he has demonstrated a level of freedom and creativity that seemed limitless. But Gaban's statement may indicate that there is still something more we haven't seen. The chapter begins with Luffy facing off against Gaban, one of Roger's closest companions, someone who by himself already carries enormous narrative weight. The way Gaban deals with Luffy is interesting because he does not underestimate him, but he also does not seem to take him completely seriously. This could mean that Gaban knows something that has not yet been revealed to us. When he mentions the white form, I think he might be referring to an even more advanced stage of Luffy's fruit awakening. Gear 5 has already been presented as a full manifestation of Nika's power, but could there be variations within this same transformation? Luffy's appearance in the chapter reinforces this possibility. His clothes and axe turn completely white, and the Viking helmet he was wearing seems to have fused with his hair, creating a horn-like appearance. This aesthetic change might not be just a visual effect, but rather an indication of a different state within Gear 5 itself. So far, Gear 5 has been characterized by its unpredictable and almost comical fighting style. But if this white form is something new, perhaps it is a more focused version, maybe stronger, maybe faster, or who knows, something completely different. The parallels with Gear 4 could be a clue. In the past, Luffy developed different variations of Gear 4, such as Boundman, Tankman, and Snakeman, each adapted for specific situations. If the same logic applies, then it is entirely plausible that Gear 5 also has variations that have yet to be fully explored. Gaban may have recognized this possibility and decided not to continue the fight precisely to avoid forcing Luffy to a point where he could awaken this new transformation involuntarily. Another interesting detail in the chapter is how Gaban interacts with Luffy. He provokes Luffy by talking about the Straw Hat, about Shanks, and even about the hat's ownership, something that directly touches Luffy's identity as the successor of Roger's legacy. This type of provocation makes me think that Gaban is testing Luffy on a deeper level than just a physical fight. He wants to see if Luffy is ready to understand something greater, perhaps about his own power and his connection to Joy Boy. Zoro himself has a reaction worth mentioning. When Gaban starts attacking, Zoro realizes the seriousness of the situation and activates his 3 swords imbued with advanced haki, generating black lightning that indicates a power level similar to Luffy's. This means that Zoro, alongside Luffy, is already at a level where he can face legendary figures like Gaban. But more than that, Zoro also notices something about Luffy, which may indicate that he perceived this white form before Luffy even fully understood it. The fight ends abruptly when Gaban simply gives up and hands over the key. That in itself is strange. Gaban does not seem like the type of person who would simply surrender without reason. So perhaps he saw something in Luffy that convinced him there was no need to continue the fight. If that is the case, he may have recognized that Luffy is already close to fully awakening his new form, and that continuing the fight would only accelerate this process. The chapter also introduces other important elements, such as the presence of the Holy Knights and the threat they pose to Elbaf. Shamrock, who had already been mentioned before, finally appears in a more active context and seems ready for a real confrontation. He talks about turning the mission into a game, which might indicate that he does not see the inhabitants of Elbaf as a real threat, possibly meaning that the Holy Knight's power level is even greater than we imagine. If that's the case, then the revolutionaries and the Straw Hat Pirates may be facing an even greater challenge than anything we've seen before. Speaking of challenges, the presence of 2 new Holy Knights, Saint Summers and Saint Gillingham, adds even more weight to the narrative. Gillingham seems to have a mythical zone type devil fruit, possibly the Kirin fruit, which means that the Holy Knight's power level could be equivalent to or even superior to the Admiral's. This puts into perspective the danger that Luffy and his allies are facing, and could mean that a massive battle is about to take place. At the end of the chapter, Shamrock suggests turning the mission into a game, which could indicate that he is planning a massacre or something even worse. If that happens, it could be the perfect moment for Luffy to truly awaken his second form within Gear 5. If the white form is a more serious and focused version of his power, perhaps it will emerge in a moment of desperation, just like when he first activated Gear 5 against Kaido. I think Chapter 1140 was essential in establishing these possibilities. The way Gaban talks about the white form, the way the fight was interrupted, and the introduction of the Holy Knights create a scenario where Luffy may have to go beyond what he has shown so far. Perhaps, who knows, this could be the battle where we finally see the true limit of his power. However, if we consider Gaban's words in Chapter 1140, where he mentions the white form, this could lead to multiple interpretations. One, perhaps the simplest, is that he is merely distinguishing Luffy's normal state, his regular rubber form, from the Gear 5 transformation, which is characterized by a white body and cartoonish effects. In this case, he would not be implying the existence of another form beyond this, but merely referring to this specific transformation in a casual manner. But if we analyze it from another perspective, there is room for another theory. If Gaban highlighted this white form as something specific, it may be because there is more than one transformation within Nika's awakening itself. Perhaps Luffy has not yet fully accessed all variations of his power, and this statement could be a foreshadowing that there is something beyond what we have already seen. If we think about the parallels between Luffy's Devil Fruit and mythical zones in general, many of them have multiple phases and distinct forms. Marco, for example, can switch between his hybrid form and his full Phoenix form. Kaido has his human form, his hybrid form, and his full dragon form. Even Lucci and Kaku, after awakening their Zoans, gain new characteristics, including an enhanced transformation. If Luffy follows this same pattern, then it is possible that his Devil Fruit has another facet that we have yet to see. Another detail that reinforces this idea is how awakened Zoans are represented. In Luffy's case, his Gear 5 transformation allows him to enter a state of total freedom, manipulating his environment and his own body without restrictions. But what if there is an even more advanced stage, where he can channel this power more efficiently without having to maintain a completely cartoonish appearance? Perhaps Gaban, having known Shanks and possibly having heard about what this fruit represents, possesses information that even Luffy has not yet discovered. Another clue that may be relevant is Gaban's comment about the straw hat. He questions whether Shanks really gave the hat to Luffy, implying that there is something more to this relationship. Shanks may have recognized something special in Luffy from the very beginning, not just because of the boy's free spirit, but because he already knew that the devil fruit Luffy ate was the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. This raises the possibility that Shanks has knowledge of the true capabilities of this fruit, and that consequently, Gaban may have some answers that Luffy has yet to obtain. If the idea of a second transformation is real, then its activation may be linked to Luffy's own growth. In the Egghead arc, we have seen that his Gear 5 is already much more stable than when he first awakened it in Onigashima. However, there are still moments when Luffy loses energy and quickly dehydrates after using it. Perhaps this is a sign that he has not yet fully mastered his awakening, and that there is another level he still needs to reach. If this new form truly exists, what would its characteristics be? It may retain the absolute freedom effect seen in Gear 5, but with more refined control. Perhaps Luffy's body would not turn completely white, but instead become a fusion of his natural state and this new form, allowing a balance between his endurance and his boundless creativity. This new phase could even have different properties, possibly enhancing his speed or durability, without relying so much on the exaggerated, cartoonish effects we see now. Another interesting point to consider is the broader context of the story. Luffy is approaching the final stages of his journey, and Oda tends to save the most impactful transformations for decisive moments. Gear 5 was a major revelation, but if there is something beyond it, it might be reserved for an even greater confrontation, perhaps against an opponent who forces Luffy to surpass his own limits. If Kaido was the first major test for Nika's awakening, then the final battle against Imu or one of the Holy Knights could be the trigger for this evolution. In the end, Gaban's comment may have just been a casual reference to Gear 5 without directly implying another transformation. However, considering that One Piece often drops small hints that only make sense later, it would not be surprising if this remark was foreshadowing something greater yet to come. Perhaps Luffy is still only at the beginning of the true potential of his devil fruit, and what we have seen so far is just a fraction of what he will be capable of in the future. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.